Where the hell have I been? Well, let's rewind a bit here. So, for those of you who are in the know, I have, or had, I should say, I'm not used to saying that yet. I had ulcerative colitis, which I've been suffering from for 15 years. Conveniently, I was scheduled on the 15th of January to get surgery to have my colon removed. This is my colon that's no longer in me. They gave it to me as a parting gift. But, so the reason I had to get my colon removed and the reason I was hospitalized in the first place was because I had a colonoscopy at the end of 2023, for anyone who hasn't seen the video. And essentially they found stricturing my colon, which means narrowing, because I was having this really awful, horrific abdominal intestinal pain that just felt like someone was taking a knife and just trying to like stab me from the inside out. It was horrific. It was awful. And they'd ask me like the 1 to pain 10 scale. I would tell them it was basically on the verge of a 10. Like if 10 was you getting like a limb sawed off or something like that, it was to that degree. It was awful. And it wouldn't go away. Because essentially, as long as I was consuming anything that wasn't literally a liquid, that stuff has to go through you at some point. So that was fun. So they found that. This was back in October, I want to say, of 2024. And so at that point, my gastroenterologist said, you need to have your colon removed. Like, you could not, but it's only going to get worse, and you're just going to be suffering and in misery. So why would you put yourself through that? And I think he was expecting me to push back because he had all these anecdotes and things ready from other patients who've had the surgery before to sort of back up like what he's saying. But when he told me that, I'm like, okay. And I don't think he knew what to do with that because he's like, so just so you know, like I've got some, testimonials from other patients who had the surgery. And I'm like, I'm good. So I don't think he knew what to do with that. Suffering from this for as long as I have, I always knew that this was a possibility. So I think I just made peace with it a long time ago that if I have to have surgery, like, so be it. It's just like the next step in life, essentially. So why fight it at the end of the day? And it's only going to ideally make my life better. That was end of 2024. A week prior to the surgery, so fast forward, we're in January now. I'm looking at the calendar to make sure I have my dates right. January 10th. That really awful pain I discussed, for the most part, for the next several months, the pain sort of went away. I basically adhered to a strictly liquid/mush diet. So I was eating a lot of soup, meal replacement shakes, just anything that wouldn't agitate my system. So then what happened was, very close to the surgery, only a week out, the pain recurs. And it's worse this time than it was the times before, which was a bit concerning. So we end up going to the emergency room here in Vegas. And similarly to when I went back in 2024, what happened was that time they believe I had an infection. And then they gave me a bunch of stuff and I was out within a day. This time they did the same thing. And so I thought, okay, this is going to be similar where I'm out in a day and then I'll be fine. The surgery's only a week away, whatever. So we get admitted on Friday night. And then I get out Saturday morning. And I was planning on seeing some of my local high school friends here before going, because this was the last time I was going to see them before going to the surgery and being gone for a few weeks, right? I go to hang out with them, and I'm feeling fine. I get out of the ER, everything feels normal, and we go home, and then I leave to go hang out with my friends. But then not long after I get to my friend's house, I start feeling the pain again. And it's as bad as it was when I went to the ER the day before. So I realized in that moment, oh shit, this is not handled. This is not resolved. This is not like the first time where I was in and out and then I was fine after the fact. Which is not good. Which is not good at all. I stay at my friend's house for, I want to say, maybe an hour. We're just hanging out. We were going to order dinner and stuff. But then I tell my friends, I just said, I have to go. Like, I'm feeling like shit. And I can't hang out anymore. So I drive home in excruciating pain. It continues to only get worse. And at the level that it was when I went to the ER before, and even worse than that. And at this point, my biggest fear is that if something has escalated to the point that it's even worse, I don't want to be stuck in Vegas for an emergency surgery. So for context, all of my doctors are in California. So I usually go out of state to get all my medical care stuff. And the surgery is going to be performed in California. As this is happening, the thing that's going through my mind is I need to get the fuck to California right now because I don't want to be stuck in Vegas for emergency surgery with someone who I don't trust to perform the surgery. My surgeon in California is like one of the best people at doing this because this is all she does day and night. One of my best friends, James, we call him up and we ask if he can drive us to Cali that night. The reason we asked him and the reason why Brittany didn't drive is because Brittany, from being in the ER all night the night before, had about 1 hour of sleep because she was sleeping in a fucking hospital chair with, you know, no comfort or anything. So she was a zombie. Otherwise, she would have just driven. So we asked my friend James, we say, hey, we don't mean to like burden you, but like, can you drive us to Cali? Like in the middle of the night. And without hesitation, he's just like, yep, let's go. Let's do it. So, W friend. He's been one of my best friends since high school, and this is one of the reasons, you know. That's how you know your friends have got your back. So we literally drive to Cali in the middle of the night so I can get to the hospital where my surgeon is actually going to be at. If you're not in the know with what's been going on the west coast of the United States, California has been on fire. Basically, hell has been unleashed in the great state of California, and half the state is burnt to a crisp at this point. And for context, if the hospital is my left hand, and this is the road that is parallel to the hospital, across the road from the hospital is the outlined evac zone for the wildfires that are currently happening, okay? So let me just give you the context here. So there's a possibility the hospital, you know, might have to be evacuated on top of everything going on, okay? It's not like it was off in the distance. It was literally, if I showed you the map, it is literally the hospital, the road, and then the evac zone outline is right across the street. You could literally walk across the street and be in the zone that they're telling people to evacuate, okay? So keep that in mind. Literally right next to it. So as we're driving into Cali, we're about an hour-ish out from where we're supposed to be. The smoke. We are an hour away from where the fires are. It is nothing but smoke. It went from being clear to just, you can't see. It was so acrid. It was insane. It was ridiculous. It almost looked borderline apocalyptic. It was crazy. We didn't actually, keep in mind, the fires are still way west of us at this point. We aren't even in like where the city we're supposed to be in. The smoke was so dense and so thick from how ridiculous these fires were. It carried literally that far east into the state that it was that far out. It was apocalyptic, to say the least. That wasn't, you know, that wasn't particularly fun to see. Thankfully, there weren't any fires along the route that we had to drive. They were sort of adjacent, but not anywhere we had to like directly drive past. So that wasn't really much of an issue. So it looked a lot worse than it actually was, thankfully. But that was just, you know, if you're going to talk about like omens, that wasn't particularly good, right? So anyway, James, W, best friend, we get there. It's like midnight, 1 a.m. at this point. Strangely enough, the pain sort of subsided. It was still there, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't nearly as bad. So I'm not sure if whatever pain I was experiencing, if it passed, but it was okay. So we got to the hotel, and I told Brittany, I'm just going to stay in the hotel for the night. This might be the last good night of sleep I get for the next God knows how long. And we'll just admit me in the morning. So we do that. We go to bed. James is insane. He just goes back to Vegas. He doesn't, I say, do you want to stay? And he's like, nah, I'll just drive back. So he drives back, gets home at like 5 a.m. Animal. But he's a night owl, so I guess to him, that's not that big of a deal. Still crazy, though. How long's the drive? Sorry, that'd be a good thing to clarify. The drive is 4.5 hours. So not like the longest drive, but not a short drive by any stretch of the imagination. So 4.5 hours in the middle of the night, and then 4.5 hours back. Next day, basically wake up. I sort of just get everything set. I kind of just pack the stuff up that I know I'm going to need, and we go. So I get admitted. The pain's still there, but it's not nearly as bad as it was the night before, thankfully. That's when it all starts. So I get admitted to the ER, because keep in mind, at this point, it is... I'm looking at the calendar. At this point, it is January 12th. It is January 12th. It is Sunday. I'm supposed to have the surgery in 3 days at this point, okay? But I'm not technically supposed to be admitted to the hospital yet. The original plan is on the 15th. I go to the hospital. I just show up. They set me up for surgery. I go in for surgery. I'm out, and then I get technically, admitted to the hospital for recovery. But I have all this stuff going on. So I have to go into the ER to basically let them know and have to go through the lovely American healthcare system emergency room. We get there. We let them know what's going on. And I immediately just get placed in a room with someone else who coincidentally was also who's dealing with the same thing that I was dealing with. So what happened was, not long after I get there, they start doing scans, they start doing blood work, the usual stuff that you come to expect, right? So it turns out what happened was that my small bowel got obstructed. So small bowel is small intestine. That is not good. That is not good at all. And what's bad about that is that it triggered me into a UC flare, which caused a burst of inflammation, worse than it's usually inflamed. And so they have to clear this blockage before they can do the surgery, because they cannot operate on me to remove my large intestine if my small intestine has a blockage. Because otherwise, we're literally not shitting at that point. That was unexpected. And so the person that I'm sharing this emergency room with was this elderly Eastern European. I think he was Russian, because he was speaking to his wife, and it sounded like she was speaking Russian, or he was speaking Russian. But Eastern European, if anything, who also had a small bowel obstruction, because at one point I overheard the nurse, it's just separated by a curtain. At one point I overheard the nurse mentioning that to him, or they were discussing it, something to that effect. So I thought it was funny they put the small bowel blockage people in the same room together. Maybe they can keep track of us better. But anyway, his was significantly worse than mine, because if your small bowel is blocked up too much, they actually have to go in with a tube through your mouth and literally have to vacuum suck the stuff out of your small intestine, because otherwise you cannot just let this flush out of you. And unfortunately for my roommate, that's what they had to do to him. And I had to listen to all of that because I'm not in my own room. We are separated by a curtain. And I am just at this point, I'm not a religious person, but at this point, I was just like, please, I already have to go through all this other shit. Please do not have me go through that, because that sounded, I'm a very visual person. The image of them having to do this to someone, for context, okay? I had these headphones with me. I brought them with me. As soon as they said that they were going to do this to this man, I immediately told Brittany, give me my headphones right now. And so she gave them to me. I put them on and I just turned up the volume and I just zoned it out. I did not want to deal with any of that. One of my doctors comes in, one of my surgeons, one of the nurses, I forget. Someone comes in at some point and they're trying to ask me questions. And Brittany's like, oh, he can't hear you. And so then she starts talking to whoever, because I'm not dealing with that. I could hear him grunting and screaming in pain through my noise canceling headphones. So I did not want to deal with that, but I felt so bad for that guy. The worst part of it is that they couldn't get it all the way through his throat. So they had to do it again later. Thankfully, I wasn't around for that. But they mentioned how they couldn't get it down. So he went through all of this agony and had to do it again at a later time. I felt so bad for this guy. At this point, they know that they figured out the small blockage. If you see me looking at my phone, I have all these notes to recap everything. So that's why I'm looking at my phone. Oh, I did forget something funny, but I'll get back to that later. So then at this point, I am basically only allowed to have liquid. So all I get is a little cup of soup, and then in true American healthcare system form, I get 4 different things that are sugar. So I get an Italian ice, juice, a popsicle, all these things that are all sugar. I don't know how this is supposed to be healthy for you and to help you get better. We'll get back to that later. So that wasn't pleasant. And this begins the journey of me barely eating anything for 2 weeks straight and losing 20 pounds while I'm in the hospital. But we'll get to that later. Close to nighttime, it's basically 8, 9 p.m. at this point. They wheel me out of this room with the old man, and they put me in the hallway because the ER gets quite crowded in California, and they needed the room for some of the more newer patients that were being admitted. Once they knew everything that was going on, I literally got wheeled into the hallway, and I am adjacent to where they are doing all of the lab screenings for the all the CT scans. So there's my gurney is here. There's a door literally at my feet for all the people they bring in the ER to get CT scans. So they're going in and out of here every 5 minutes, basically. And then there's another gurney on the opposite side of the door that has our newest patient. Our newest patient, this poor guy, from our understanding, this guy suffered from sickle cell anemia and was literally screaming at the top of his lungs because of how painful everything was that he was going through, and he was trying to get any sort of medication to help quell the pain. I have no knowledge on sickle cell anemia. I have heard that depending on the degree of sickle cell anemia, that it can be some of the most unbelievable pain imaginable. But this guy was literally, he was probably close to my age, if not younger, just based off of what I could tell. He was literally shrieking, and I mean shrieking at the top of his lungs non-stop for like 3 hours. The only time it stopped was, I think they eventually came and gave him, they came and brought him some good shit. I don't remember what they gave him, but it was some substance that people, that some people do not do well on. Let's put it that way. I don't remember if it was fentanyl. I don't remember. It was the good shit, whatever. So at some point he passed out. Aside from, I want to say, the 15, 20 minutes that he passed out temporarily, it was just, you could be anywhere in the emergency room. And this is a big emergency room, but you could be anywhere. Because at one point I got up to go use the bathroom because the bathroom was like way down from where I was. I could hear him all the way down. I want to say, if I had to measure, 1,500 feet, 2,000 feet away. It was like a walk. It took like 2-3 minutes to walk to the bathroom, and you could hear him clearly from that far away. And it was just, it was nonstop. It was, I felt so bad for him, but at the same time, I was also trying to like sleep. It's one of those things where you feel bad for the person, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. It's tough. I feel like those situations are really tough. However, anyway, eventually my surgeon, the one who's supposed to perform the operation, she came by. She sort of just like talked with us, just kind of gave us the rundown of everything. Eventually they wheel the guy away who's like shrieking because I think they were just trying to like make the ER not as, however, horrifying for everyone else who was there, because he was the only one who was like screaming at the top of his lungs. Like no one goes to the ER and wants to be there, right? But I think they got him out of there to just diffuse. So they did that. At this point, Brittany had left. She went back to the hotel. And then I tried to go to bed. But then I want to say it was like the middle of the night. It was like 1 or 2 in the morning. They're like, oh, we're going to wheel you somewhere else. And I say, okay, I mean, I don't really have a choice. At this point, I think they're going to take me to an actual room since I'm being admitted to the hospital. But oh no, oh no, we're not being admitted to the hospital just yet. We're still in the ER. So they wheel me into, I think it was technically the gynecologist room. I think that was like what it was labeled as, but I have no idea. It was some sort of isolation chamber gynecologist room, but it was a room. It was a room in the emergency room that had its own bathroom adjacent to it, which is nice. Keep in mind, I still have my colon in me. I'm still dealing with UC. It hasn't gone away yet, right? So it was nice that I technically had my own private bathroom in the ER, but the whole situation was just weird. So weird, in fact, that when I wake up the next morning, all of a sudden, everyone who is entering the room, usually the surgeons and the medical team and the GI team and the hepatology team, like everyone I need to see who is entering the room at like 6 in the morning, they are all decked up, not like hazmat suits, but basically they all have these they have these like extra layers of something over them. They have gloves, they have masks. It looks like, it almost looks like I'm being quarantined, like out of some movie. And so no one, I'm so confused at this point because everyone I was seeing previously, they're just dressed normally, right? Like they're just in scrubs, whatever. But now they're all decked up in this like borderline hazmat gear, and no one has told me anything. So I don't know at what point this changed. It seemed like when I entered the room. was the change. So at one point I said, why is everyone wearing all these different, like, why are they wearing different garb? And so that's when I found out that this room actually for people, like, they do isolate people in there. I guess it's also still the gynecology room technically. So it's a multi-purpose room, but for the most part, it's to isolate people who have stuff that might be contagious or infectious, different things like that. I think at one point they were trying to rule out like C. diff or other random things. And Brittany's like, I spent all day with him yesterday. If it's C. diff, then I have fucking C. diff. And like half the fucking hospital is going to have C. diff at that point. It was very stupid. But basically, because it's like this isolation chamber, the protocol for entering this room is you're supposed to get garbed up. But I don't think anyone informed the staff that I'm fine and that they had me in there for everything I was going through. Because at some point midway through the day, they stopped getting all garbed up and they were normal again. So I don't know if there was like a sign or like a code or I don't know, but whatever it was gone. So they started like walking in like normal again. At this point, they're still just basically trying to wait out. Before I was only able to have liquid, but at this point I was supposed to have an endoscopy today because they wanted to check something in my esophagus prior to the surgery because they were concerned about a potential complication. Very like 0.001% chance it was going to be an issue with the surgery, but they wanted to just do their due diligence. So I was supposed to have an endoscopy on Monday. And so as a result of that, I wasn't allowed to eat, or I was only allowed to have that like liquid diet dinner that I had. And then I wasn't supposed to have anything until I had the endoscopy. Well, wires got crossed because since I was in the emergency room earlier, I was supposed to be at a different facility to get the endoscopy. But in my report, it said that I was supposed to have the endoscopy. So I think the staff assumed it was at this hospital and not a different hospital, which is where it was supposed to be. Even though I told someone that, but whatever. So surprised, they didn't do the endoscopy. Weird. And as a result of that, then they're like, okay, you're allowed to actually eat something now because you weren't allowed to eat because of the endoscopy, whatever. So as soon as they said I could eat, keep in mind, I have not eaten. I actually forgot to say this. I had not eaten since Friday at this point. I had a breakfast Friday morning. I had some soup and rice, and that was it. Since Friday morning, I have not eaten because of the pain. Because remember, Friday, I was in the ER in Vegas, and then I got out Saturday, and then Saturday, we drove to Cali. So Friday to this point, I have probably had 300 calories max in 3 days. Basically borderline 4 days. So as soon as they let me have food, I tell Brittany immediately, find us some good Korean food, order it. I'm gonna just down whatever. So she finds a good place. We order it on Uber Eats straight to the ER, which is really funny. So I get like a big bowl of soup with noodles and rice and sides. And then I'm allowed to order from the hospital menu too. So I call them up and I literally order 4 desserts. I ordered cake and ice cream and pudding and I forget the 4th thing. I don't remember what the 4th thing was, but all I ordered was 4 desserts and nothing else. And the woman on the phone was like, you're only allowed 2 desserts, but we'll make an exception for you this one time. And I said, thank you. I appreciate it. Because at this point, I didn't give a shit. I just wanted to get calories back, right? And it's a hospital. It's not like I'm going to get like much from there. The food comes from Uber Eats. I down that. I have a picture of it somewhere because you have to see how happy I look after not eating for 3 days straight. Okay, so here is 3 days deprived Simo of not eating. The desserts aren't in this photo because I don't think the desserts had arrived yet. So there you go. There's my wife taking a photo of me, absolutely deprived. That was like oh man, that was so good. That was so fucking good. And then when the desserts came, it was even better. It was delicious. It was really good. I devoured everything here. Looks like I didn't eat for a week. It's funny because I lost 20 pounds. That's why. So yes, wife goals. Brittany got me my food. We were all happy. The reason why this is critical to the story is because this is the last meal I will eat. This is Monday night. This is the last meal I will eat for 9 days. This is the last meal I will eat for 9 days. I am not exaggerating. This is the last meal I will eat for 9 days. So the reason why I no longer have meals for 9 days is because Tuesday comes around. Remember, that was Monday night. Tuesday, I get the endoscopy that I was supposed to get on Monday. They also do a sigmoidoscopy at the same time, which is kind of like a colonoscopy, but they don't go like all the way through the colon. It's very like surface level, but they just wanted to like check stuff out, check the inflammation, just kind of see how things are at. So keep in mind, I'm supposed to have surgery the next day at this point. I'm still expecting that I'm going to just go into surgery. Everything's fine. Do the endoscopy, do the sigmoidoscopy. Endoscopy comes back fine. Cool. Sigmoidoscopy is also fine, but it gave them some insight into everything that's going on. So the small bowel obstruction is clearing itself, but it's not fully taken care of yet. So obviously they're not going to do the surgery on Wednesday, which sucks, but makes sense. To clear this, I am only allowed to have, and I have a visual aid for this, these shakes. I am only allowed to have these shakes and water for the next 9 days. This is all I am allowed to consume. Now, to be fair, these actually, from like a nutritional perspective, aren't bad. These actually have 350 calories per shake, and they basically have everything you need. But, yeah, you know, after a while, it's just not the same as real food, you know? So they stagger me on these shakes, and they want to just make sure I'm getting enough calories, but at the same time, they also need to balance out making sure that the blockage gets cleared. So they start me off on a very minimal number of these shakes. They only start me off on like 1 or 2, and each day they add an additional shake. So the first day was like 2 or 3, and then the next day is 3, and then 4, and then 5, and then 6, and then 7. And this was all to make sure that the blockage got cleared, to make sure I could handle it, that it wasn't going to make the blockage worse, that I wasn't going to start vomiting, anything along those lines. I gotta be honest, the reason I have this as a visual aid is because I started buying them after the fact because they kind of grew on me. I'm not gonna lie. They're actually kind of good. So now I have them for home, which is a funny, twist to the story. They actually kind of grew on me. And they're actually better than the shake that I was drinking at home, nutritionally. So I actually think it's for the better. Yeah, Stockholm Shake Syndrome. Yes, the new channel sponsor is Complete, the complete meal tube feeding formula that you cannot drink out of a tube. And if you have a small bowel obstruction, they're not bad. I've actually still been drinking like 2 to 3 a day since I've been home, just for the calories and also just because it's like easy on my system. So I find out at this point, I'm not getting the surgery Wednesday. I'm going to be stuck on a water and shake diet, a very limited water and shake diet. Fat White Duke, thank you for the $25. Holy shit. Thank you so much. It's going great. It's going great. And the best part is, I don't know when I'm getting the surgery. It is completely vibes based at this point. It could be Thursday. It could be Friday. It could be, because it's Tuesday at this point. It could be next week. We have no fucking clue. They are literally just each day checking on me, and then they're going to decide what to do because they need to clear the small bowel obstruction and they need the inflammation from the flare to settle. Because since the edge of my small intestine was inflamed from all of this, small intestine connects to the large intestine, they need my small intestine to be intact and not inflamed to operate. And so it's just the waiting game. So I literally was stuck in the fucking hospital for an extra week, just doing nothing. Just doing absolutely fucking nothing. It was something. It was something. But we made some good memories. We made some good memories. Wednesday comes around. And keep in mind, if you forgot, I'm still in the emergency room. I was admitted Sunday. It is Wednesday. This is day 4 in the emergency room. I am still in the emergency room. I have not gotten a room in the hospital. I am in the emergency room. You see the photo. You see, I'll bring the photo back up. This room, this isolation room, this is still in the emergency room, okay? This is still in the fucking emergency room. So I have not left. I have not left the ER yet, which is incredible. Actually, they're trying to get us a room, but that's just the nature of hospitals, right? So we're on day 4 in the emergency room. So Wednesday comes around. My surgeon walks in. My surgeon's hilarious. She's very blunt. She's very direct. Doesn't really obfuscate or like use colorful language. She's just very to the point. And when she came to visit us on Wednesday, she kind of looks around and is bewildered by the fact that we're still in there and is asking, do people sleep in here? Like in the room that we're in, because she's just shocked that we haven't moved by this point. And we're like, yep. And so she's like, huh, okay then. So that was fun. But finally, Wednesday night, after 4 days in the ER, At 2 in the morning, so technically it's Thursday at this point. At 2 in the morning, they enter my isolation chamber gynecology room. And they say, Alex, we're moving you. And I said, I didn't hear that from anyone, but okay. So they moved me out. They take me upstairs and they take me into a room. And it's a shared room with an 87-year-old dementia patient. 87-year-old dementia patient who has a Big Brother camera on his side of the room and alarms attached to his bed that if he moves out of bed, alarms go off. There's an intercom system and someone watching this man 24/7 and will yell at him, not yell, but will insist that he get back into bed because he's not allowed to leave the bed because he's a fall risk. And I understand that we are dealing with someone who has dementia. I have dealt with that myself. In terms of a hospital visit, when you're already going through everything that you're going through and you're trying to sleep at 2 in the morning and there are literal sirens going off and people yelling at someone on an intercom, and if he ignores them and 5 nurses come running in basically trying to restrain him and keep him in bed. And I really struggled with this because I was really sympathetic to what he was going through. Because obviously I understand that people dealing with dementia, like they're not doing it on purpose. But at the same time, I'm also trying to get myself better too. So I was really grappling with the back and forth of the whole situation. And so it was rough. I will say that was maybe one of the roughest moments of this whole experience because I think just like mentally and emotionally, especially because of everything I'd gone through thus far, I kind of just like, it was just tough. It was just, I was really had a lot of like mixed emotions at that point. It wasn't always, I will say 50% of the time he was totally fine. He was absolutely normal. There were times where I was walking around the hospital wing because I didn't have IVs or anything. Like I could do whatever the hell I wanted. Because I'm just sitting around waiting for everything to resolve itself, right? So I could do whatever. So there would be times I was walking around and a nurse would be walking him around and I would say hi to him and, you know, kind of briefly interact with him. The nights where the dementia acted up, those were rough. Those were really, really rough. And it was kind of bewildering to me that they actually would put a patient like that in a shared room with someone else, just because of the context, not just because it was me specifically, but just anyone. I feel like they would want that person isolated in their own room because of the circumstances. I guess if the hospital's so full that you don't have a choice, I guess that is what it is. It's a very old hospital that they still have shared rooms. You know, I made peace with it. I made peace with it. It is what it is, right? What am I gonna do? Immediately, the first nurse, when they pulled me into this room, he warned me that was who my roommate was. He said he put in something with the charge nurse to try to get me my own room whenever a single room opens up. Which in my mind, I'm also thinking, wouldn't you want to give that to him? Not that I was going to complain about getting my own room, don't get me wrong, but I would think you'd want to give it to that guy to kind of like ease out that situation. I don't know. I wasn't going to complain. The funniest moment from this, so this is Thursday night. So they wheeled me in Thursday morning. This is Thursday night. Nothing really eventful happened Thursday night. But the funniest part about Thursday was my surgeon would visit me almost every day during the night at some point. After she either did surgery or saw patients or whatever, she would usually come and check on me just to see how I was doing, even if it was for 5 minutes. Apparently, the patient prior to me that was sharing this room with this dementia patient was also a patient of my surgeon. So she knew this room already quite well. And she was very familiar with this patient that I was sharing a room with. That night, she walks in and she says hi. And the patient says hi to her. And she sort of goes like this. Hi. I don't know why, but Brittany and I just start cracking the fuck up. I don't know if they had previous interactions because the patient she was seeing before was in the same room. So she must have obviously, like, I doubt this was their first interaction. But it was... My surgeon's like a cartoon character. It's great. I can't begin to describe it. It's amazing. She's incredible. So anyway, she just talks with us, yada, yada. Whatever. That's Thursday. But that one interaction made all of Thursday so worth it. It was so funny. So then Friday was a really bad night because Friday his dementia was really acting up. I will say, even though I got maybe 30 minutes of sleep that night, there were some really highlight moments from that night. So at one point, keep in mind, this is like 1 or 2 in the morning. At one point, he gets out of bed. He's trying to get out of bed, I should say. And so on the intercom, they see him getting out of bed. The alarms start going off. And they're like, go back to bed. Put your legs back in the bed. You know, all that stuff. And he just goes, fuck you. And I'm not gonna lie, I started laughing when that happened. I was a zombie. I was so exhausted. But when I heard that, I actually just started busting out laughing. It was so fucking funny. I think at that point, I was just so delirious, and I was just laughing at the whole situation. So that was followed up with 5 nurses coming in to restrain him and put him back. So then it gets better. It gets better. So another hour or 2 passes. So this is like 3 or 4 in the morning. I hear all this rustling around. And he's not getting out of bed because the alarms aren't going off. No one's telling him to get back in bed. But you just hear noises. And I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? And I was wondering because it sounded like he was trying to get out of bed, but the alarms weren't blaring. So clearly he wasn't doing. So I'm like, what the fuck's going on? Eventually, the night nurse comes in to check on him. She like turns on the light or whatever. And she's like, oh my God, you're naked. He's just straight up naked. I can't see this. The curtain is blocking all of this. So it's even funnier because I can't see it. And not that I want to, but I'm hearing it all unfold, right? But he's just straight up naked. So the rustling around that I heard was him taking his clothes off, I guess, for whatever reason. I don't know why. So she calls one of the other nurses in, and they try to, like, help him get his clothes back on, and they get his clothes back on, I guess, and then they kind of, like, put him back to bed. I think they turn his TV on just so he can, like, try to, like, focus on something else or go to bed. I have no fucking clue. I don't remember. But they put his clothes back on. They, tucked him in, whatever. And then he was like chill for the rest of the night. I say the rest of the night. It was 4 in the morning, so it's not like there was a lot of night left. Was it hot in the hospital? That's a very interesting question. It was the opposite. It was fucking freezing. You would think this hospital didn't have fucking windows. I had four blankets on, and I was cold. And I run warm. I had 4 blankets on, and I thought it was cold. It was weird, though, because during the day, it would get hot. I think because it was like a southern facing window, so the sun would directly enter the room and really heat it up. But at night, it was like 30 fucking degrees in there. It was freezing. Maybe he was really hot. I don't know. But yeah, that was a very long night, but it was a very funny night. So at least I give it that. I give it credit for that. So we're on what, Friday now? Yeah, we're on Friday. So Friday, nothing really happens. I'm a zombie because I got no sleep. At this point, I'm just kind of walking around, just trying to, like, keep active, because I've been in the hospital for, at this point, for almost a week. So I just go walk around. I'm just walking around the hospital, just doing whatever. But that's really it. The patient that I was sharing the room with, he was very good that day, because one of the nurses was actually walking around with him and stuff. I sort of alluded to that earlier. He was very good that day. Like, that was a good day for him. And so I was happy that he had a good day. So that was good. Friday was very uneventful for the most part, though. Oh, Saturday. Saturday is a big moment. Big turning point. I finally got my own room on Saturday. It only took a week, but we got my own room. And so now things can finally start to, like, be at peace. So I got my own room. The surgery team comes in at some point. They think we're looking at a Tuesday surgery date because everything's looking good with my labs. They're going to do another scan to make sure the small bowel obstruction's gone. Everything's looking good. We're a week delayed on the surgery, but we had to handle this. Everything's looking good. My labs are all trending downwards, which in this case is good because they were really elevated for what they needed to look for. Everything's looking good. So Saturday was a very good day. Not much else happened, but it was a good day. Sunday, I actually skipped a whole part of the story. I just realized I skipped an entire part of this story. Holy shit, how did I forget this? So let me actually take a step back here. Remember when I said they took me from the isolation chamber to the room with the dementia patient? I missed an entire saga in between that. So I thought they were taking me to my own room, or a room in the hospital. Oh no. I can't believe I forgot about this. This is like one of the best parts of the story. Turns out, yeah, this is the filler arc. we went on a side quest. It turns out that the ER was overflowing. They took a hand select few of us. It's ironic because I think it's everyone who's dealing with like bowel issues specifically. I don't know if that was intentional. I don't know if it worked out that way or not, but there was 4 of us specifically. They wheeled the 4 of us off into this, basically it was a room that they use for people who are having surgery. It's like a post-op recovery room that they converted into extra emergency room overflow space. So they wheeled us into this random ass room in like the middle of the hospital that no one knew existed. We were in like the Bermuda Triangle of the hospital. And I'll get to that in a moment. I believe it was called the MPU, like the Medical Procedures Unit or something like that. So they wheeled the 4 of us in here at like 1 or 2 in the morning. The time was right. I just didn't go to the right place yet. And so the reason why this is relevant is because the next day, Brittany's coming from the hotel to the hospital to find me. And she's asking security or anyone at the front desk or whatever, like, where I am. Because I explained to Brittany, oh, they moved us. I think it's like this. I tried to explain to her what it is. So she's trying to explain this to the security, the front desk, someone. I don't fucking know who. And they're like, we don't know where the fuck he is. And Brittany's like, what do you mean you don't know where the fuck he is? He's in the hospital. But according to like whatever charts or data that they have, they could not find me. It was, like I said, the Bermuda Triangle of the hospital. It wasn't just Brittany or the staff that she was talking with that didn't know where I was. The catering people didn't know where anyone was. Not for me, but for the other people in this little room of ours. The doctors didn't know where we were. The nurses didn't know where, aside from the nurses that were in the room with us, they didn't, literally no one knew where the fuck we were. It was like we had vanished off the face of the planet. It was incredible. So we were actually, technically this is still the ER, right? We were here for like 1 to 2 days in this like little random ass overflow. One of the guys had surgery, so he was gone very quickly. So it was just me, a woman, and another guy in the bed next to me. Like 1 over, because there was like 3 beds, and he was like 1 over there. And so eventually, after like a day or 2, they just like shut this whole overflow operation down and then moved us to actual rooms. And that's when I got to the shared room with the dementia patient. I can't believe I forgot that whole arc of everything. That was so funny that they literally lost us in the hospital. So anyway, Doom Lord effect. Yeah. Literally went away for 2 standby phases. For real. Okay, so anyway. So where were we? I got my own room. That's right. I got my own room. They think they're going to do surgery on Tuesday. Things are looking good. And we knew it was happening because I got like the whole surgery spiel consultation, not like the one you go into a doctor's office to have, but like they sort of just talk you through everything and you sign your life away for the surgery. So the fact that I did that, I knew it was happening soon. So then Sunday was really funny because Brittany's parents came from Vegas. They usually go to Cali once a month just to do some things. They came to visit me because it just happened to be on that same trip. They brought Lily. They brought Miss Lily on the trip with them because they were watching Lily this whole time that this was happening. Brittany wanted to go see Lily. You obviously can't bring the dog in the hospital, so Brittany had to go downstairs to go see Lily. And so I go with her. And Brittany's like, are you supposed to do that? And when I was in the Bermuda Triangle, they gave me privileges to like go outside and stuff because they knew I wasn't like a fall risk or I wasn't going anywhere or doing anything. So they gave me privileges to kind of just go. As long as I tell the nurse where I'm going or I'm not gone long, they were totally fine with it. I'm like, yeah, it'll be fine. No worries. So we walk downstairs. We go just out like the front door, whatever, of the hospital. I look like an escaped mental patient or like an escaped hospital patient because I'm in my gown and everything. I didn't put my regular clothes back on. So I have my gown. I have like hospital socks. I don't even know if I don't have shoes at this point. I just look like I've escaped from the hospital. But I technically don't leave the property. You know, I'm still on hospital grounds, right? So it's not that bad. So yeah, I got to see Lily. Lily knew something was up because when I held her, she like licked my face, but she wasn't licking Brittany, which was funny. So she knew like something was wrong with me. So that was very cute. That was fun. Brittany wished she got a picture of that. I'd never let my patients out like that. To be fair, they didn't know I went out. If I told them I was going to go out of the property, they probably would have said no. There's other outdoor areas on property that you are allowed to go to. So I didn't tell them, but it was like 5 minutes. Like, it was fine. You know, if something happened, something happened. So be it. So it was very cute. I got to see Lily. But yes, I looked like a deranged lunatic on the street because I was just in hospital clothes. Then Monday, we're getting closer to the surgery. Monday was very nice. I got to see one of my good friends, Dennis, who owns Project CCG in LA. If you've ever been to that card shop, fantastic card shop. I've known Dennis, or his YouTube name, P Bunny. I've known him for 10 years now. He was part of the Yugi Tube, or the next great Yugi Tuber when I first started YouTube, and we're still friends to this very day. But him and his wife came to visit me because they knew I was in the hospital. And that was really nice, just because basically in isolation for the past week and a half, you know, I had my wife and my mom, they were both there, but it was just nice to, you know, see a good friend. And so it was nice to just kind of forget about stuff for a couple hours. We just talked about work and life and just a whole bunch of different things. So it was very nice to see them. Very nice to see them. So Monday, nothing really happened besides from that. And then I started the antibiotics for the surgery because the surgery is coming up. And then Tuesday surgery day. Finally, after 10,000 years, we're a week late, but we're supposed to be surgery day. Now, for anyone who is not familiar with the hospital by this point, hospital time is very nebulous and unpredictable. So we were asking, oh, when's the surgery going to be? And they said, oh, we don't know. Like, it might be. It's looking like the afternoon, probably. And so we're like, okay, like, that's pretty good, right? I go in for surgery in the afternoon. I come out. It's evening. I just go to bed. That's it. You know, we sort of, like, start the next day. It was not the afternoon. It was not the afternoon. They had to get me set up for everything first. So they actually gave me an epidural for this, which might sound kind of crazy, but for those who don't know what an epidural is, basically they put the world's longest needle in your back, and it essentially numbs the area where they're going to be doing the procedure. And what they do is they essentially, like, they have this whole sort of setup where you, like, you know when you go to the eye doctor and you sort of, like, lean your face into something and you sort of, like, lean forward? They had a setup like that. So I was, like, leaning up like that, and I'll even go like this because this is, like, the position that I was in. And the guy just shoots, like, numbing medication into my back, which that hurt more than anything else. And then all of a sudden, he just shoves in this giant needle, and he sort of, like, gets it around to get it just right. And that was going to be my best friend for the next for the next week or so. But they do that for this procedure because they essentially, with the epidural, it numbs the whole abdominal area. So that way you're, from a pain management perspective, you don't really feel anything, which is especially, like, post-op. Post-op, most importantly. That's the reason for it. So for that, they were giving me fentanyl, but we'll get into that later. They did that in, what time was that at? Like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. So at this point, as soon as I got the epidural, we knew I had to get that done. I'm assuming at this point, they're going to take me back, like, immediately. They don't take me back immediately. Shocker. They don't take me back until about 8 p.m. at night. Until about 8 p.m. at night. So it was not the afternoon. It ended up being the evening. And the surgeons ended up operating from 9 p.m. I technically went back at 8, but they had an hour of me back there doing surgery prep. So 8 p.m., the surgery didn't start till about 9 or 9:30. I did not get out of there until 4:30 in the morning. They literally operated through the night. What was a 4-hour surgery turned into a 7.5-hour surgery. And we will get into why that is. From my perspective, I got knocked. I had some of the best anesthesia I've ever had in my life. Here's the last thing I remember. They're wheeling me back. I say, you know, I love you, you know, to my wife and my mom and all that stuff. They wheel me back. I have to hoist myself with the epidural in. I have to hoist myself onto the surgery table from my bed. So I do that. I, like, skirt myself over. The last thing I remember, my surgeon's not even in the room at this point. The last thing I remember is one of the surgery team, who I'm assuming was the anesthesiologist, she's like, all right, I'm going to give you just something. I'm going to give you something light. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I'm chatting with one of the other team because they were asking me a couple questions. As soon as she injected me with whatever the fuck she injected me with, it wasn't even like the actual stuff. I was out. I literally counted to 12, not like out loud, but in my head, because I was curious, oh, is this going to knock me out? I'm going to see how long it takes. I counted 12 seconds, and that wasn't even the good stuff. I literally do not remember anything past that point. The next thing I remember is waking up at 5:30 in the morning. I got out at 4:30. It took me like an hour to come to. So it's like 5:30 in the morning. The only reason I knew that is because as I'm coming out of anesthesia, I hear my mom asking, I think she was asking the nurse or Brittany or someone, but she was asking someone what time it was, and I heard them say like 5:30. And in my head, I'm cognizant enough to realize I was only supposed to be in there for 4 hours. 9 p.m. to 5:30 is not 4 hours. I am a Yu-Gi-Oh player. I am not good at math. But the math was not mathing there. So that was I knew something was like up at that point. Oh, I asked what time it was? Thank you, dear. Okay, never mind. I forget at what point the time came up. So 8.5 hours? No, technically, I was done at 4:30. So I didn't wake up till 5:30. So if you want to count the extra hour, sure. That's up to you. Took as long as a Yu-Gi-Oh turn? Yeah, exactly. Coming out of anesthesia was really funny because the first thing I said was, like in my Twitter post, I said how, after 7 hours or whatever, the first words that came out of my mouth were, after 15 years, it's finally over. Technically, my small intestine was there too in what I just threw, but you get the point. So it's gone. And then the other funny part that I do not remember, the first thing I told Brittany was no third Shih Tzu, because prior to all of this, she was saying that we need a sibling for Lily because she's been trying for that as long as you've all known me. But more importantly, there's a backstory that when her mom was anesthetized years ago, she asked her mom if she could get a dog, and her mom was delirious getting out of anesthesia, and her mom's like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. And that's how they ended up with one of their dogs. At some point throughout this visit, Brittany was like, oh, I want a second Shih Tzu because, just out of everything we've gone through, let's just get another dog. And I said, okay, eventually, sure, that's fine. But because of the story that she told me about her mom, I was not going to end up like her and get baited into having a third dog. So the second thing I said as I woke up was no third Shih Tzu. With her out, she didn't say a fucking word. That was just, I literally said that before she said anything. At this point, it's the next day. Brittany and my mom have not slept because they stayed up the whole night. No one else is having surgery performed on them, so they're the only ones in the waiting room, which is probably kind of eerie. Simo pulling imperm on the wife. So the delay in surgery was because they needed my inflammation to quell, and they needed to make sure the small bowel obstruction was gone. So the reason the surgery was 7.5 hours instead of the initial 4, so I was hooked up to this thing at one point. I forgot about that. That thing that weighed as much as my fucking head. That thing was huge. TPN, thank you. So that was at one point when I was just walking around and escaping. This was the first time I saw outside in 7 days. This was when the dementia patient, this was that night, I think Friday night or whatever, when things were really bad. I literally, you can see, I put my fucking noise-canceling headphones on because it was so loud from everything that was going on. You can just see the noise-canceling headphones on my ears here. This was right before I went into surgery. This is when I'm all hooked up to the epidural. You can see like it's sort of draping over here to get into my back. But this was like right before they wheeled me back. They put the hat on. So that was like right before they took me back. So the reason the surgery took so long, great question. What they did for the surgery, to give you some details and insight into that, is they do it laparoscopically. So they don't just like slice me all the way open, rip me open, and like rip out my large intestine. What they do is that they actually just have 4 little tiny incisions, and robotically, they go in, they actually inflate you with carbon dioxide, and they go in with little robot hands and do everything that way, which is actually pretty cool. The only incision that I have that's large, but it's not even that large, it's maybe that long. Actually, I think it's shorter than this. Maybe if you took off the cap, so it's that long of an incision. That's just going straight across my belly button, because that's actually where they took out the colon, because they need to get it out somehow. But they do everything else laparoscopically. As they were in there, going and doing everything that they had to do to remove my colon, they found that my colon was actually stuck to my back fat. Now, I'm not, fat or anything, but everyone has like some degree of back fat. It was actually stuck to it, which made it very difficult for them to remove it, because they sort of had to like carve into my back fat, and they had to carve very carefully because you have to think about the body 3-dimensionally, right? There's a lot of other organs that are adjacent to the large intestine if you look at anatomical diagrams. they have to avoid all these other organs that if they touch could have a lot of serious repercussions. So they took their sweet ass time carving everything out around that. And because it was stuck to that, it made it more difficult for them to do that. Because they don't want to fuck anything else up. There's a lot of things that if they just make the one wrong move, it can mess with everything else. There's nerves, there's like a million different things, depending on like which part, because the colon goes, you know, here, right? Like ascending, transverse, descending. There's a lot of other shit going on here. So they had to be extra careful. What they also found, what they weren't expecting, was that, however, remember when I started discussing all this with you all? Remember how I discussed how they found the stricturing in the colon, the narrowing, which is what was causing all the pain in the first place. That was present, but what they didn't account for is that my colon was actually shrinking. So like circumference-wise, it was actually shrinking in size in addition to everything. And this is something that happens with people who have UC who are inflamed for so long. It actually forces the colon to shrink. And so as a result of that, that was also why I was having so much pain, is because not only did I have this stricturing, this narrowing in my colon, but my colon itself was fucking shrinking on top of it, making it so that it was this narrow passage that nothing could make its way through, hence why I was in excruciating pain. They didn't realize that that was something they were encountering until they got in there and were just figuring it all out. So like I said, my surgeon, I picked her because she is one of the best at what she does. She does this shit day in, day out. And so she told me, one of the days she came to see me or during the consultation with her initially, I forget, but she said at one point, I say the surgery takes 4 hours. I might take longer because I take my sweet ass time. And she's like, if I see something that's not right, I'm not going to move on to the next thing until I get it right. That is the most assuring thing you can hear from a surgeon, right? That they're going to take their sweet ass time to get it all done. Because I don't care. I'm knocked the fuck out. I'm in fucking Disneyland at this point because I don't know what's going on. I got knocked out and I wake up and that's it. I don't know what's happening. So take your time. If you need to take 12 hours, go ahead. It doesn't bother me. I'm out. I'm not going to know the difference. As long as the anesthesiologist does their job, I'm not going to know the difference. So that's it. Colon gone. I lost another 5 pounds because that's how much a colon weighs, apparently. Can weigh more if there's actually stuff in it, but no more colon. This is where the whole recovery process starts, right? Because I need to get used to life, not having a colon, but also I need to wake my digestive system up because they knock me out so good that it puts my entire bowel system to sleep. And so the biggest thing, if you or someone you know has to go through a surgery like this, you have to fucking walk. And you have to walk. The more you start walking, it's going to wake up your system and you actually everything starts getting active again. So you have to fucking walk. So if you ever have to deal with it, if you know someone that has to deal with it, you have to fucking walk. Just remember that. And so I had people tell me the same thing prior to the surgery. I wake up, it's like 5:30 in the morning, whatever. They moved me back into my actual room. Thank God I still have it. And then I'm pretty sure I knocked out for a few hours at that point. I don't recall like exactly what happened when I got back into the room. But what I do remember, I felt fucking great. I felt fucking great. This diseased, festering fucking organ that I've been dealing with for half my life was fucking out of here. So I felt fucking great. I still couldn't eat food, unfortunately. That was the one thing that sucked. I felt fucking fantastic. God, it felt good. God, it felt so fucking good. I was ready to go. I was ready to just like fucking get out of there, right? Not really. I was still hooked up to a million different things, but the fentanyl was dripping. The pain medications were doing their thing. I felt invincible. I was ready to go. So like I said, you're supposed to start walking. So, however, the nurses came to me. They're asking me if I was ready to start walking. And I said, I can try. I mean, I wasn't like super confident, but because I hadn't really, I could feel soreness. I could definitely feel my abdomen was sore. However, what I didn't account for, and what nobody told us for some reason, I don't know if it just slipped everyone's mind, my shoulders fucking hurt. My shoulders hurt more than my abdomen. To be fair, I had an epidural in, so the abdominal pain was all numb, so that makes sense. But I remember waking up and thinking to myself, I just had abdominal surgery. why does it feel like I just went to the gym and like bench pressed 1,000 pounds for 3 weeks, like I'm in Dragon Ball Z or something? Because my shoulders felt like they were gonna fucking fall off. And it in my mind, that didn't make any sense. So at some point, I either asked a surgeon that came in or a nurse or something. I said, why do my shoulders hurt? So apparently, when you get laparoscopic surgery, I mentioned before how they blow you up with CO2. Turns out the CO2 escapes through your shoulders. I didn't necessarily mind that. I just wish someone said that to me prior, so I was like expecting it. Because I'm like, I just had abdominal surgery. Why do my shoulders hurt? This doesn't make any sense. That was actually more painful than the abdominal region because that was being numbed. So they gave me like pain meds. They gave me like lidocaine patches and stuff to like sort of help with that. And that went away after a couple days. But man, that fucking hurt. If I had to like get up because my abdomen was so weak, I had to like really use my arm muscles to like push myself up or have like a nurse help me or something. But if I did this, you know that motion where you push down on like the arms of a chair or something to get up? If I did this, I thought like my shoulder was gonna break. It was that painful. And I'm like, I can tolerate pain pretty well, but like if I did this, holy shit, that fucking hurt. That was miserable. But thankfully that went away after a day or two, so that wasn't that bad. Going back, they wanted to ask me if I wanted to walk around. And so I was like, okay, I can try. I don't really know how well this is gonna go. I actually need the picture for this because this is actually pretty funny. This is the picture I was waiting on. I just had major surgery. I don't know how well I can walk at this point. And the one detail I have omitted up until this point is that I have a catheter in me as well. So for those of you who don't know, a catheter is something that goes into your urethra and makes it so that it just takes all of the piss out for you. So imagine trying to walk after with all those details, right? So here we are. This is the first day. This is the very first day. So I have 2 nurses that have to help me with this. So this belt that I'm wearing, this is like a fall belt to make sure I don't just like immediately knock over. So nurse A is having to like hold all of my like catheter equipment because I have a tube going, you know, just like straight into my dick basically, going into like a giant tub. So she has to like hold all this equipment while I walk around. And then the second nurse, the one on the left, has to take like all of my pain meds, my IV, all this other shit. So I need both of these nurses to like help me move. The big yellow tin thing there, that's for the epidural. That's like the fentanyl. That's like locked up tight. That was really interesting. I'll get to that in a second. So it's this whole, if I want to walk, it is a process. It requires multiple people. It is a whole process. So they were, I guess I can pull it back up really quick. They were only expecting me to walk from my bed to the door of the room. That was all they were wanting me to do. They just wanted me to at least get up and walk 5 steps, you know, maybe 10, 5 to the door, 5 back. I said, fuck that. I said, we're doing a lap. We're going around the hospital. And they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. Like, let's go. Because as soon as I got up, granted it was uncomfortable because I had this fucking catheter in me. We were solid. Like, once I knew I could stand, I think it was actually more uncomfortable the fact that I had a catheter in me than the fact that I just had surgery. Because it's very awkward to walk with a catheter. So as you can see here, we're not in my room. Like, we're walking all the way through the hospital. So we do a lap around the hospital and they're trying to like guide me back to my room. And I said, nope, go again. And they're all just like pog facing, like they're all just like in disbelief because they're like, how the fuck are you doing this? Like, no one has done this. You're supposed to be like knocked the fuck out after all this has been done. I'm like, nope, we're going. I'm like, I'm ready. Like, let's fucking go. So we did a second lap around and that was all I did for the day. I didn't want to push it, but I felt really good. I'm like, because at this point, keep in mind, I still have like not eaten food for 9 days at this point, aside from drinking these fucking things, right? So at this point, it's more just that I'm just like malnourished or just deprived of calories and energy than the fact that I've just dealt with all the surgery shit. I just feel low energy, which is something that, you know, food can fix at the end of the day. That was the only reason I did 2 laps. If I had something in me, I maybe could have done more. But at that point, I was just exhausted from lack of sustenance more than anything else. So Wednesday was a really good day because that was like it was like day 0 technically, because I came out of the ER Wednesday morning. So you could call it either the first day or like day 0, depending on how you want to like look at it. I am very atypical in terms of like the recovery. Most people are fucking, they're just like knocked out. They can't do it. So then on Thursday, thank God for Thursday, they take out the fucking catheter. Thank God. That was one of the most unpleasant experiences in my life. I wish that they numbed that part of my body because that was very unpleasant. That was not fun. And they told me at some point today, within the next 6 hours, 6 to 8 hours, I need to pee. If I do not pee, they have to put the catheter back in. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. So now that the catheter is out, I feel like I feel like Rock Lee dropping the fucking weights against Gara, right? Because now I can move. That the catheter was so restricting in my ability to move and so uncomfortable. But once that thing was gone, oh man, I want to say I did either 12 or 14 laps that day. 12 or 14. I forget how, because I went multiple times, like in different sessions, but I was doing 3 or 4 laps at a time and then taking a break. So I forget how many I actually ended up doing, but I did like 12 or 14. I forget the exact number. Which is insane. Which is like insane for context. Like most people are doing a lap on this day for context. Catheter gets removed. All right, time to grind masochist. Exactly. I've been walking. Things are good, but I'm not pissing. I have not pissed. Piss gang was not here. We were not pissing. That was not good. I was chugging, and I mean chugging water. Thank you for the hydrate, by the way. I was chugging water. I was doing everything possible to piss. Everything. But I wasn't pissing. I was not pissing. So then the nurse comes in about 6 to 8 hours after they took it out, because that's about the point where they have to check on you. They bring in this tool. It's this tall monitor looking thing. And it's sort of like an ultrasound that they use on your bladder. They have like the gel and everything. So they do this ultrasound of your bladder to see how full the bladder is. And it's full. The bladder is full. The bladder is almost beyond capacity at this point. We were drinking maybe too much water. It was full. I tell the nurse, I say, give me like another hour. Like give me just like another hour or two to like try to get something out. And she's like, all right, I have to tell the team, but like you've got that time in between or whatever. I'm trying everything to piss. Like, I'm literally trying anything I could think of. It's weird now because you have to keep in mind, I don't shit anymore, right? Like, nothing comes out of my butt. It all comes into the ostomy bag right here. Historically, because I was in the bathroom so much for my UC, I would always just, like, shit and piss at the same time because it was just more efficient that way. I was, like, shitting more than I was pissing. So if I had to go, I would just piss at the same time and just, why would I have to go to piss separately? It was a really foreign concept to me, which is going to sound funny. It was just very foreign that I could piss independently of shitting, if that makes sense. It was very rare for me for the past 15 years to like only have to piss by itself. So I don't know if I just like wasn't used to that or what it was, but for whatever reason, like I just could not let anything out. And so then I had this idea where I thought, okay, I need to get back into my like active environment of like how I would piss previously. So instead of just like trying to, just on the side of my bed into the urinal or, just wherever, right? I thought to myself, I'm going to actually go into the bathroom and like sit on the toilet like I like am used to doing. And so then I will try to like replicate the environment that I'm used to being comfortable pissing in. I do that and I sort of just like relax, but I'm also not relaxed because there's the fear that I'm going to get a catheter shoved into me in like 10 minutes if I don't piss. So there's a lot of pressure. And then finally, after I told my wife and my mom, I'm like, go walk around. I'm like, just leave the room. I need to just like meditate basically. So I go in the bathroom, I sit on the toilet, and I get into like Zen, gather your mind, like trance state. And then all of a sudden I piss the most I've ever pissed in my entire life. I fill up the entire fucking urinal And holy shit, that was the biggest sigh of relief. Not just because I had to piss, but because I didn't have to get that fucking catheter put back into me. Oh my God. That was a nightmare. That was a nightmare. It's funny too, because the nurse told the team that I wasn't pissing. And the fucking dick surgeon was like, oh, show him how long the catheter needle is, and maybe that'll give him some motivation to piss. And so thankfully, I didn't get to that point that I had to get scared into it. But yeah, we pissed, and we were good. It's funny that was like after the fact instead of, you know, getting to that point. But, you know, it is what it is. So no more catheter. We're good. We're good. We're good. We're all set. We're all set. So that was really funny. And I feel like Brittany said I looked like I just gave birth or had a religious experience. The look of relief on my face, she said, is nothing like she's ever seen in her life. So I'm sad she didn't get a picture of that, but it is what it is. At this point, I'm still just having, like, liquid food. So it's similar to what I said before, where it's just soup and, like, 5 different types of sugar. So Jell-O, that was the other thing from before. Jell-O, popsicle, Italian ice, juice, just, like, all sugar and, like, nothing nutritious. I remember one of the soups they brought me, because at one point I asked them, I said, can I have, you know, like, soup? Can I have, like, broth? And I think when I asked the surgeon that, or when Brittany asked the surgeon that, I think they said no, but I think when we said soup, I think they assumed soup that has things in it, you know, like chicken noodle soup, right? There's like things in it, not just the broth itself, which is what we meant. So I think there was like a miscommunication there. But at one point they brought me this soup that it wasn't even that clear, and it had a bunch of like residual herbs and stuff in it. And so I saw that and I looked and I'm like, this is like if I were to have Korean soup at this point. So I said, fuck it, Brittany. I'm like, order Korean soup for dinner. I'm going to have that. So there I am actually having something that's, oh, this was definitely solid food because I'm eating meat here. But anyway, so this is Korean soup. This is called sarantang. Basically, it's just like bone broth soup. That's all it is. So basically, that night, I told Brittany, order this, and all I drank was the soup. So usually there's meat in it, there's noodles, there's like a side of rice over here. I didn't have any of that. I just literally drank the soup, because that actually has a lot of like nutrients and sustenance in it. And it's a lot healthier than eating fucking Jell-O. So we ordered that, I drank the soup, it was fucking glorious. Then the next day, because I was doing so well recovery-wise, they actually graduated me to solid food, which was, usually you go from liquid to mushy food, so like mashed potato kind of consistency food, to actual solid food. But with me, because I was handling everything so well, they just shot me straight to solid food. They're like, all right, let's see if you can handle solid food. For breakfast, I ordered pancakes, and chat, I swear to God, I don't care if those were like Bisquick or whatever fucking store-bought box fucking pancakes they serve in a hospital. Those were like the best fucking pancakes I've had in my life. Remember, I had not eaten food for 9 fucking days. Oh man, I drenched those bitches in syrup, in butter. Glorious. I like how I'm talking about all the sugar stuff and I'm drenching these pancakes in syrup, but it's fine. It's fine. At least there's like other stuff too. It's like carbs. Man, those pancakes were good. And then for lunch, I had spaghetti and meat sauce. I don't care if that shit was Barilla pasta with ragu. Incredible. That could have been Michelin star hospital food at that point. Incredible. Delicious. Absolutely delicious. God, it was so good. And it was good too because tomato, well, aside from the fact that pasta is gluten, which is something that was obviously bad for me before. However, tomato specifically was always really bad for me. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the acidity or what, but for whatever reason, if I ever had anything with tomato, I would always feel like absolute shit when I still had my colon. But I ate that whole fucking plate of pasta. I felt fucking great. And now I actually have food in me. I actually have sustenance. I have carbs and protein and all the things your body needs, right? Oh man, that was fucking good. And so then for dinner, we had the same soup place again. This time I was actually able to eat the other things in the soup. So you can see on the chopsticks, there's like very thin sliced meat. I'm just dipping that in like soy sauce or like a soy sauce, like vinegar sort of mix. In the soup, it's just the bone broth with rice noodles and some green onion. And then on the right side there with that spoon on top, that's like the rice. I wasn't eating the kimchi or any of the other sides, but oh man, to be able to have rice again to be able to have meat again, you really, you know, it humbles you. That's for sure. And then that was Friday. That was Friday. Wednesday was like day 1, right? Thursday was day 2. Friday was day 3. Next day, I handled the solid food just fine. They're like, all right, see ya. 4 days. 4 days. I was supposed to be there a fucking week minimum. Oh, sorry. The day I'm able to eat solid food, I did 30 laps around the hospital. 30 laps. Multiple miles around the hospital. They're like, just get out. They just wanted to get rid of me at that point. So then that was it. I got out. We stayed in California for a couple of days in case there was any random complications that arose, because if we came back to Vegas and something came up, it was going to be way more of an arduous task to get back. So I figured, just out of abundance of caution, let's stay for a few days. I can eat normal food, just hang out. I can chill. Let's just make sure everything's good. Everything was fine. No issues. So then we drove back. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, the drive from Cali to Vegas, like I said, is about 4.5 hours. Maybe 4 if you're speeding, which everyone does. Usually, for the amount of time that I've dealt with my UC, there are several towns along the route to California. About an hour in between. If you're leaving from Las Vegas, there's a little town called Baker. Like 400 people live there. They're known for the world's biggest thermometer. That's the only like claim to fame that little town has. Aside from that, it's just a pit stop town. From Baker, an hour away from there is Barstow, much larger town. Still pretty small, relatively speaking. Mainly just people going from Vegas to Cali, but still, like, people live there. And then after you pass Barstow, you're kind of like in more populated California, where it's a lot of just, you know, there might be a lot of like distribution centers, things like that, but it's more populated. There's a lot more exits you can get off to if you have to like go to a gas station for a bathroom or pick up some food. It's not that difficult. But when you're going through the actual desert from Vegas to Barstow, it's all desert. That you can go like 60, 70 miles without a stop that has like any way to use a bathroom or get food or anything like that. It's not common. For the whole latter half of my life, anytime we would do this drive from Vegas to Cali, we'd always have to stop in Baker, in Barstow, in some town after that. And usually by that point, I could hold it long enough to get to wherever we're going in Cali. So I'd usually have to stop every hour to use the bathroom. So when we were driving back from LA to go to Vegas, we didn't stop. We straight shotted it. 4.5 hours, no stops, didn't have to stop. And it was the most surreal experience because I haven't done that since I was like a literal child. Because my grandparents on my dad's side live in Cali, so we'd have to do that drive every now and then when I was a kid. And it was the most bizarre feeling. I'm fine. That like everything's good. It's gone. Like it's done. Sure, I still have to deal with the bag. And the bag fills up. And it filled up a little bit. It wasn't like we had to stop, so I had to empty the bag or anything. I was totally fine waiting till we got home. If anything, I drank a bunch of water, so I feel like I had to piss. Weird concept, right? But I'm fine. It's gone. It's done. I don't have it anymore. And that was just such a foreign feeling to me because as we're driving and we're passing all the towns that we would usually stop in, I'd have like the bathrooms in my head that I know I like stopping at because they were like the nicer ones versus some that were really scummy. I just remember thinking, holy shit. Because every time, you know, they'd ask me, oh, do you want to stop? And I said, no. I'm like, I'm good. And it was just weird to say that because I'm not used to that. And even now, it's still weird, right? Like, as I'm streaming with you guys, we've been streaming for, how long have we been streaming for? 2 hours? I have 0 sense that I could stay here for another 10 and I'd probably be fine. And I'm not used to that. It's so crazy. It's like, it's gone. It's done. It's gone. Will I ever have to shit again, or is the bag permanent? So, I mean, like, I shit into the bag, but it just sort of goes in. It just, like, happens, and then I just go empty the bag every now and then. So, like, I'm still shitting. It's just in a different way, which is kind of weird. Shitting is free, no mana cost. I dark hold the colon. Yeah, we did. You still have to sit on the toilet to pee? No! Can I tell you how weird it is to stand up to pee? That's just something I never did before. It's so weird. Oh my God. It's so fucking weird. I'm not used to it. It's great, but I never had to do that before. So is the bag permanent? No. So that sort of gets us into what's next, right? So from this point, I need to heal up just from the surgery. My abdomen was really sore when I got back. So I got back last Wednesday. So about 9 days ago now. So I got back last Wednesday. My abdomen was still pretty sore because they took out I kind of forgot about the part. They took the epidural out, and they were kind of nervous to see how I was going to react when I'm not on fentanyl anymore. And they gave me oxy to sort of like taper me off of the fentanyl. They gave me that once or twice, and they were giving me Tylenol with that too. But I felt fine. I felt like no issues whatsoever. So I said, fuck the oxy. I don't want to mess with that stuff because that stuff's dangerous. So then they just gave me the Tylenol, and I felt fine. And then as soon as we got back Wednesday, I think I stopped taking the Tylenol Thursday. Like it just feels like if you're at the gym doing like 1,000 crunches or like sit-ups, it just feels like that degree of soreness. And over the past week or so, that's just slowly gone away. So now it's still a little bit sore, but for the most part, it's basically gone. So next steps is that once I heal up, they make sure everything's fine. There's still 2 more surgeries. So surgery B, if we're going as the other one is surgery A, surgery B, they're going to go back in. They're going to take the end of my small intestine. I really wish I had like something to show you. I guess this can kind of work. So if this is my small intestine, if this is the end of it, they literally are going to take it and sort of make it into a balloon. And that's going to be what is essentially my new colon for the most part. And then they're going to construct that. That's going to take probably another 4 hours. They're going to do that, and then they're going to let that heal up because they don't want that to get infected. They need to make sure it's okay. Then surgery C is they're going to sew up my stoma. They're going to take off the bag. That's going to be all done. And then they're literally going to connect the little pouch called the J pouch because it's like a letter J. They're going to take this and just reconnect it to my asshole, basically. And then it's like I have a complete digestive system minus the large intestine. And so the difference there is that I probably won't be able to like hold needing to shit as long as like normal people can. But you can train it over time to be able to like not have to go to the bathroom like all the time. So there's a bit of like a learning process there. And that's if I get those surgeries. I'm planning on it, but there is a world that I could just keep the bag indefinitely. It's not uncommon that some people do that. I will say from the, couple weeks I have had the bag, it fucking rocks. It's so cool. It's just like weird because you just like, I don't know. You just like go and just empty it out and like, that's it. There's like nothing really to it. Step. So technically your anus is not equipped to your body right now. So right now, my rectum is actually stapled shut, which is crazy. Is there an advantage to getting rid of the bag? So there's pros and cons. Obviously, the con of having the bag is that it's like this thing you always have to like have attached to you. You have to make sure it doesn't leak. You're always changing it out. Thankfully, I don't have to change my bag out every few days. But it's sort of like this thing you have to upkeep, right? It's always sticking out of you. So if you're like self-conscious about if you go swimming, you can swim with it. Like it's waterproof and everything. So you can shower with it. You can swim with it. Maybe like you don't like how it looks. So like it's an aesthetic thing. But in terms of like functionality, it's fine. Like it works and everything. But the pro of it is that compared to getting reattached and going through with the other surgeries, having a complete system again, I'm never going to be normal, right? I'm never going to be a person that only has to like poop once a day, right? That's just not going to happen. Some people go through the surgery and it sort of kind of feels like they still have UC in some ways, where like that urgency to like use the bathroom sort of returns. There's a few other things that can come from it as well. On the plus side, they're like normal, right? They have like a normal body again, minus a large intestine. And not to say there aren't complications with the bag, right? There could be, things that can happen with that. So it's really like, there isn't like a correct answer. It's kind of like what you feel the most comfortable with. Some people actually, if they go through with the third surgery, or the whole process, I should say, they'll go through the whole process and actually the J pouch like doesn't work for them. And they have to actually go back to getting the stoma and the bag again. Or some people go through with it and they don't like it. They don't like how they feel, so they actually reverse it and go back. It's interesting. It's like I said, there isn't like a right or wrong answer. It's kind of really just like preference and how you really want to live the rest of your life, essentially. Pro is saving money on toilet paper. Not necessarily, because you still use toilet paper to clean the bag. So how the bag works is that you basically just either squat in front of the toilet, you could sit on the toilet, or like kneel in front of it. As long as you can just get your like front in front of the toilet. There's a little, if you have like a piece of paper and you fold it over like this multiple times, That's at the bottom of the bag, but it's like Velcro. So basically you just go over a toilet, undo that like flapping mechanism, and then it just empties out. And then you just do that, take toilet paper, clean out the bag, close it back up, and you're done in like 30 seconds. And then you just go wash your hands and you're on your way. It's like pretty damn cool. It's neat. No bidet for the bag? No, you're not supposed to like put anything foreign in the bag besides like toilet paper. You'll see online people say to like wash the bag out. No, you're not supposed to do that. Now when you shower, you can like take the bag off and like clean like the stoma and everything like that. But you're not supposed to like put other shit in the bag. That's like bad. Poop patch? Yeah, pretty much. This is an external pouch duct taped to your abdomen. Basically. I would show you, but I think it's against toss, so I don't want to get like banned or striked or anything. I don't want to just run that risk. But basically, what I will do, I'll stand up. So it's right here. So like here's the top of it, and like here's the bottom of it. And so it's like right here. And so like I said, like so the bottom of it's right here. You just undo the flap. It just all comes out. Redo the flap. Oh, you wipe everything up first. You clean everything up. Put it, Velcro it up, and then you just go wash your hands and you're on your way. Did it cost anything, the whole process, or is it undisclosed? It's the American healthcare system, and I was hospitalized for 2 weeks and had a major operation. I will tell you, I don't even have the bill yet. But I will say, thank you, insurance. That's all I'll say about that. There's tons of videos on YouTube. Yeah, there's a lot of videos about it. I just didn't want to, I tried looking into it. I don't want to just mess with getting like striked or anything. So you're broke forever? No, insurance thankfully ensures that we're not broke. Because of everything I'm going through, I have really good insurance. And that was by design. So that when stuff like this would have inevitably come up, it'll be okay. Insurance has what's called an out-of-pocket maximum that you pay for the year. And you can imagine we hit that very quickly. But the point of that is you can never pay more than what that out-of-pocket maximum is. And the surgery was already approved by the insurance. And the hospital visits eventually will be too, once we get to that point. So probably like a couple thousand for out-of-pocket you'll hit easily. Yeah, pretty much. Exactly. So if you don't have insurance, or you've ever like questioned getting like good insurance, when stuff like this happens, this is why you have insurance. So just FYI, if you're ever thinking about it, if you're younger, make sure you get decent insurance. Don't try to get the worst insurance possible. Now that you don't have a colon, do you weigh less? I do. Well, I weigh less because I was in the hospital for 2 weeks and basically didn't eat anything. So I lost like 20 pounds, which isn't really like that surprising. But 5 of those pounds were from the colon itself. 5 pounds from the colon, 15 pounds of actual fat, muscle, everything else. Because I was like 180 going in, and I'm like 160, like low 160s now. But I'm also trying to like regain everything from what I've lost. Once I put on some more weight, you know, try to get back to like 170. That's the idea. How much is that in metric? Oh, sorry. I need to give you non-freedom units. Sorry. 180 pounds, 2 kg. So I was 81.6 kilos, and now I am 72.5 kilos. But 2.2 kilos was the colon for my non-US. How many I don't fucking know how many stones that is. How do you refill your colostomy bag? What do you mean, friend Ekro? 72 for an adult is low? Yeah, exactly. That's what 2 weeks in the hospital will do for you. How many Yu-Gi-Oh cards is that? That I definitely don't know. As in, doesn't it get full? Yeah, so with the bag, what you do is you sort of just like monitor how much is in it at any given time. And you can tell if I'm sitting, you can't really feel the weight of it that much. But when you stand up, oh, you can feel it. It feels like you have like, how do I describe what it feels like? It feels like if you put a bunch of oranges or fruit in like a bag, you know those like plastic bags you would put fruit in at the grocery store? It feels like that is like hanging off of your abdomen in terms of weight. And so when it feels a bit heavy, you're supposed to kind of monitor when it gets like half full. When it's like half full is when you're supposed to empty it. And so depending on like how quickly your digestive system like processes things, there's a whole list of foods you can eat that like thicken your stool and also like slow your system down. You're kind of supposed to monitor that to make sure that it's like not filling up too quickly, because then you might be dehydrated, which is something that can happen very commonly. As you guys know, I drink water like a fucking fish, so like that's not a problem for me. But for a lot of people, they don't drink that much water. You're supposed to drink like 1.5 liters or 2 liters of water a day, which to me is nothing. I drink close to 4, so I don't have that problem. Yeah, a lot of water is reabsorbed in the colon. That's why dehydration is an issue for a lot of people. A lot of people won't buy oranges after that. I didn't know how else to describe it. It just feels like something heavy, like the weight of a fruit is hanging off of you. I don't know how else to describe it. Are you keeping the bag? If you mean long-term Blaze Soldier, I don't know yet. I'm leaning towards getting the full surgery still. I've actually quite come around to the bag, and I think it's really cool. So I kind of go back and forth. Did I only remove part of my colon? No, I removed the entire colon, KH Casper. My whole large intestine is gone. I guess technically, depending on your definition of colon, that could be part. The whole large intestine is gone. That's a low-hanging... Echo double. Stop. If the bag tears, how do you get a new bag? That's a good question. So, I don't know about tearing. I guess that could happen. The biggest issue is that if it leaks, if you don't adhere it properly. So, basically, if this is the bag, right? If my phone is the bag, you kind of just... It has like an adhesive on the back. So, you peel off the adhesive after you cut it to the right shape. And you just press it into your abdomen. And then it sticks to your abdomen. And the seal is really, really good. And the nurses said that I have really good skin for ostomy bag sticking. I guess some people don't. Whether it's the shape or... Oh, there we go. Yeah, I can show this. My wife brought one. So this is what it looks like, chat. This is what it looks like. There's another thing. She doesn't have to bring it. But there's another thing. There's a tool to measure the stoma to figure out like how big it is. Because it kind of like gets larger or smaller depending on like just what's happening with your system. So you can see there are these like numbers here that you can like cut to like get the shape right. So mine's about a 30. So I usually cut around that 30 ring. And then there's a adhesive here. You just peel it off and then you just stick it. And it's like super, super sticky adhesive. It's really fucking sticky. It doesn't really hurt when you pull it off. But it's sticky. It's very, very sticky. I'm young and my skin isn't funky. Precisely. And so this was like the folding part I was talking about. Basically, once you have it on, you just fold this part like this. And then there's a piece of Velcro here. And that adheres to this. So you just Velcro it like that. And then it's sealed. I'm not closing it, but then it's just all sealed up. It'll slowly fill up. And then all you do is just, boop, comes out. Fold it back up. You go on your way. Do I feel emptier now? I definitely feel lighter. Like, I definitely feel like I'm missing an organ. It's kind of weird. But I definitely feel a bit lighter for sure. It's crazy the stoma can get as big as the target. Yeah, I think it depends. It depends, like, where you got your procedure. Because depending on the type of procedure you get, it might just be a larger stoma. Some people just have, like, larger intestines, too. So it really just depends. Because these are, like, multi-purpose. They don't just use these for what I have. They use them for other things, too. But it's cool. They're waterproof. Like I said, the biggest issue really is just leaking. But I can shower with it, which is, like, weird. Because you wouldn't think you would be able to do something like that. But I did that the other day. And I was just letting water just hit it. Because I was going to change it anyway. So my thinking was, oh, there's, like, no fear if anything happens. So I just let water pelt it for, like, 10 minutes. So, it's really just, like, if it leaks... But as long as you seal it really well, like when you put it in, it's fine. I've had only one very minor issue so far, and we didn't really seal it properly. So it was like, do I feel anything moving around inside, like my organs shifting? No, I don't feel that. Nothing's moving. I think if stuff was moving, I'd be concerned.